the similarities between quantum physics and the philosophy of the Chittamatra modern school. So what are the similarities? First we have to know the basic, the concepts of quantum physics, and then we have to know the concepts of Chittamatra or the modern school. In fact, even amongst the quantum physicists, we see that there are various understanding. The point is that object and the relationship between the object and the subject. When you look at the flower, it gives you a very pleasant feeling. When you see the same flower in the light of the atoms, then the pleasant feeling disappears. It's the same object, whether you see it as a flower or whether you see it as the atoms. And then when you want to see it as electrons, protons, neutrons, so forth. So there are many different ways of looking at it. And from this, let's say we take up these two. The same object can trigger, say, the appeal in you, and same object, if you see the same flower in the light of chromosomes. Chromosomes is very scary to look at. The real chromosomes under electron microscope, we see it's like the striped brownish the snake structure. It's very repulsive to look at. And then you go deeper into that, you see the atoms. On the atomic level, it's not repulsive, it's not attractive, it's neutral. Same object can trigger three different emotional states. So what is really there from the object? This question. Which of the three ways? So if we say all three are correct, then how can three things opposing each other be the reality of the same object if it exists from the object? So the answer is that yes, there are three different perceptions taking place. Perceptions mean purely subjective, purely from the subject, not from the object. So the philosophy is that from the object as something external, Chittamatra philosophy, as something external out there is not true. It's just the perception, and this perception which is purely happening on the subject. So the objects have to be explained on the basis of the perception and on the basis of the subject, your own subject. So which means that observed is purely dependent on the observer. So this is Chittamatra. Now quantum physics is likewise saying, for example, say the electrons, how they behave. What is the objectively, if they objectively or externally? So Chittamatra would be more happy to say externally rather than objectively. Externally, if there is the object, there's a electron there, then we should be able to say that it is this is the momentum, this is the mass. We should be very precisely able to say that. But independent of the observer, according to quantum physics, independent of the observer, observed makes no sense. Observed makes no sense. So in short, the momentum of the electron and the mass of the electron, we cannot really precisely talk about this within a given time. If you speak about the mass, the momentum you have to reconcile. If you speak of the momentum, the mass reconciles. So there we see that how the object behaves is independent of the observer. You cannot describe the observed. So it is heavily dependent on the observer. So what is that? Then the physicists, they come up with the different views. Some would say that it is just, yes, it is dependent on the observer, but then it is like the mirror. Observer is the mirror, and what was observed is the reflection. This is the Chittamatra philosophy. So some scientists will come to this conclusion, whereas others would say that, okay, for example, in quantum physics, there's what is known as the quantum entanglement. So there are two particles in two different locations. If you could determine the position and the characteristics of the particle A, you can instantly determine the characteristics of the particle B even without contacting that. So this is something how these two are dependent on each other, quantum entanglement. And from this point of view, it's not like the mirror and the reflection mirror. So if this is what we keep in mind, then the Chittamatra philosophy and quantum physics, there is a balance, but it's not totally identical. And then, so finally we have to understand the quantum physics well and the Chittamatra philosophy well. The quantum physics, what it says is independent of the observer, observed makes no sense. independent of the observer, observer makes no sense. Observer, in a vernacular language, observer means the subject, and the observed means the object. And Chittamatra will say that independent of the subject or the mind, then the thing's object makes no sense. So again, we say that observed makes no sense unless until you keep in consideration the observer. So there's a very close semblance or the convergence there, but we can't say that these two are identical.